cemeteries could talk. Oh, the stories they could tell. And Lord knows we have had some stories today. We have seen the connectivity. We've seen the great migration into Bullock County. We've seen the great migration out of Bullock County. And we've seen those souls who stayed and fought the battle. And those who are resting here waiting for that great getting up moment. On the third Saturday of each month, we will be at a different cemetery. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the historic New Hope Missionary Baptist Church in the New Hope community in Register, Georgia. Welcome to our series. We restarted these series a month ago. We had a pause due to the pandemic. There are 38 known African American cemeteries in Bullock County, Georgia. The New Hope Cemetery we're doing today is the 18th one that we have done or will be doing. We are excited to be here in the community of New Hope, which has a long existence here in Bullock County, Georgia, starting just after the Civil War, and this church has been here since 1874. The New Hope community is also one of the communities that had one of the early African American schools, just like Willow Hill in 1874. In fact, both of these schools, Willow Hill and New Hope, started around the same time. This church was started by a Father Stiles of Stills in 1874. Now, there is very interesting history, and I want to thank my very good cousin and friend, Ron Bradley. You hear the cars as they pass. We're near the road, Kennedy Bridge Road here in front of the church. Stephan Bradley, who lives in New Jersey, he and his father, Mr. Bradley, were very instrumental in doing a lot of the research that we have done on this cemetery. And I want to thank him. He actually sent me a whole archives of obituaries and history. So this community has a very interesting history in looking at the connection between the African American and Caucasian history. And we will talk more about that in the cemetery. And we want to start with a man, a slave owner named Garrett Williams Sr. from Duplin, North Carolina. He is the one who purchased a slave child named Anika, also known as America. He bought her off a slave ship in the North Carolina area. And after he died, all of his possessions, including his slaves, went to a Garrett Williams Jr., who moved his family, bringing his slaves from North Carolina, Duplin, North Carolina, to the Register community of Bullock County, Georgia. Before we proceed further, as has been the traditions in our churches and community, we always like to start with prayer to give honor and glory to God. Do I have one who want to step forward and give us prayer? Anybody? All right. I'll do it.
Okay.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the ancestors. We thank you for those who have trod before us, leading the way. We appreciate the oppression, the struggles, and all that went into making America what it is today. We want to learn lessons from the past to help us build and construct a better America where all of us live in freedom and harmony. Thank you so much, and at this time, we're going to walk over to the cemetery And I see Mr. Ellis here, and it's so good to see him. So we're going to actually start at his mom and dad's grave and then proceed from there. So let's walk over to the cemetery.
They, he was a William, Bob Garth William, and his daughter. He had so many, a lot of daughters. I know some of them. I know some of them name, and some of them name I don't know. But Grandma Lizzie was one of the daughters of Bob Garth, Lizzie Williams, which was my daddy's mother from Bob Garth, and oh.
And who did Lizzie marry?
Lizzie married Mordecai Ellis. Oh, his mother was sold to Jake Ellis. He went with her because he was the youngest and he had to have the attendance of a mother. And the man that bought them was Jake Ellis, and his father and sisters and brothers stayed with Grandpa Pete Mincy. And they were, slave owners too. And they went in the name. He and his mother went in the name of Jake Ellis. But Pete Mincy, and all the other Mincys were his brothers and sisters.
Okay, I'm glad you.
And that's how the Ellis and the Mincys come to be the same relatives. We are Ellises by slavery, but we were really born Mincys.
Ah, very good. I'm glad you helped me to understand that, because I knew that there was a relationship. Peter Mincy, I guess, who was the father of Mordecai.
Pete Mincy, yes. Was
and he was born during the slave era.
Yes.
And then some of his lineage was sold to the Ellises.
Yes.
And that's how that Ellis name is come up through the Claude Ellis and you. And then what about your mama's people, Maddie Lou? What was her maiden name?
She was Johnson.
She was a Johnson.
Yes.
Okay.
Maddie Lou Johnson.
And were these Johnson from the Register area?
But no, some of them were, and some of them is from Metter.
The Pulaski
Metter area.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and there are a lot of Johnsons over there, and I suspect that there is some relationship. Is there anything you want to talk about your father? I got a lot of information on a lot of the early African American teachers like Professor Rhines and others that he told me about, who had been associated with the Willow Hill School, and so I appreciate him giving me that information. Is there any other comments you want to make about your family members?
No, that's my. If I had time and could think.
You're doing good. You're doing good. How old are you, sir?
85.
85 years old. Well,
yes.
Isn't that wonderful? There is longevity in your family.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so is there anyone else here with us today? Have any of your relatives? We will go to them first before we go to some of the others. Anybody want to talk about their relative?
Let me say before we leave here.
Yes.
These are also my parents. I'm Dolores.
Oh, yes.
And they were very devout people in the life of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church from a child. When we were in the old church, where there were holes in the floor and the walls and everywhere else, and there was no heat. I can remember being brought down in buggy and wagon, mule and wagon, to go in the woods with my parents where they cut wood, brought it in to keep fire, and heat for when we were in worship services. And if something tore up on the church, my dad was one of those that kept the church standing.
Yes.
Physically.
Beautiful.
Just
beautiful.
the structure.
All right, and he was even at 100 years old, he was funny, he was moving around, and As the old folks used to say, at 100 years old, he was still in his right mind.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that was the beauty of him, because he could take me way back. And that's how I knew about the Ellises and the Mentzes and their relationship. And what this story tells us, that slavery creates a lot of divide.
Yes.
And after the slavery was over in 1865, you could see African Americans all over the county, all over the state of Georgia, and all over the South looking for their relatives who had been sold to other plantations and other places. We're going to go look at the Hendricks. Now, are the Hendricks connected to the Williams?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. And okay. Now, are we going this way?
Yeah.
Okay. And as we are moving, you will see the names of the Thomases, Minnie Williams, the Bronsons, and others. So let's go and now in this part of the cemetery, which is some of the oldest, I did research on a lot of death certificates, but there were no markers here in the cemetery. All right, now where we these are the birds here. The Lees.
Here we go.
There's the Hendricks over here. All righty. So I see Herman Hendricks, Martha Cooper Hendricks. How are they related to you? This is your mom and dad. Well, wonderful. What can you tell us about them?
Well, all I can tell you is that my dad is the son of Charlie
Hendricks.
Hendricks and
Gertrude Mercer Hendricks and Charlie Hendricks are the parents of Herman Hendricks. And he was born in 34. He was a member here at the church?
Yeah.
Where did he go to school?
What did you say he was going to?
Did he go to New Hope or did he go to Statesboro?
I think he went to Scotts Creek.
Oh, Scotts Creek. That's one of the rural schools in the area here. All righty. So, also in this area, you see some Bradleys. And anything else you want to say on your parents?
Well, further back, my grandfather and grandmother are buried back, and I had an older.
Is that Charlie Hendricks?
That's Charlie Hendricks.
And Miss Mercer?
And
Gertrude Mercer Hendricks?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have a sister that was born before me. And she's buried back that way.
Did she ever marry?
She died at 6 months.
Oh, she died at 6 months, and so she's buried with your family members. Beautiful.
And I can tell you that my great grandparents are Lonzie Hendricks and Missouri Everett.
Oh yes, Lonzie Hendricks and Missouri Everett. Beautiful. I am glad you're making that connection to me because I was reading a little bit about Lonzie Hendricks, and so that's beautiful. How far back can you go?
That's as far back as I can
Okay.
go.
Do you mind saying how your age?
I'm 68.
68 years old. Well, we thank you for coming out so early, because we do this because we give respect and honor to those who came before.
Over there
Yes.
is my grandfather's sister, one of his sisters.
And what is her name? Lizzie
Summerlin.
Summerlin. Okay, so there was a connection between the Summerlins and some of the Summerlins over at New Bethlehem as well. Yes. All right, any other comments in this area?
Yes, right here is my grandmother Lizzie's brother and all
Okay,
his
Lizzie
family.
Johnson's brother?
Lizzie Williams.
Lizzie Williams. What's his name?
General. General Williams.
Williams.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because he married Marietta, right?
Yeah, that's Aunt Marietta.
And she was related to Peter Wilson.
Peter Wilson's sister.
Peter Wilson's sister.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about her. She lived to be 99 years old.
Yeah, Marietta did.
And Marietta was friends to my grandmother, Bonnie Mae Donaldson. And when I was a child, she always came over to visit her, and they had a daughter named Doll, who was a school teacher.
Dolly is
Right there,
They all in this line.
Dolly.
Evelyn, that's Doll right there on the end, Mel.
Well, I declare, this is amazing how the connections come together. And so this is
Dolly.
Doll. She was a school teacher in the Cameron County system. And now who is this Williams?
Her sister.
Her sister.
Her sister.
Her sister.
Also, all of the Williams
And the
there
brothers,
together.
and the brothers is right here.
And then Ira and General Jr. were in the military, and we want to give homage to those in the military.
Which one is Ira?
Ira is this
Right,
one.
and this is
That's General.
General. Right.
Yes.
I'm not sure they call
And General was a World War I veteran. And so we give honor, but Marietta, as we said earlier, was related to Peter Wilson. And that was Miss Harriet, were their parents. And I heard my grandmother talk about all of that. You know, when the old folks used to come around and talk, I found their conversation more interesting sometimes than going out shooting the pill.
Oh, yes, that was me. I was one of the old.
And this was Grandma
Yes.
Lizzie's brother right here.
And this is Grandma Liz's brother.
Yes.
So this is the connection all the way back to Garrett Williams,
Yes.
who was the slave owner that came out of North Carolina, Duplin, North Carolina,
Yes.
into Bullock County, Register, Georgia area. Now there is a story that I heard about Bob Garth, who did not want to be buried in the ground.
Right.
That's right.
So they buried him up in a tree.
That's right. Back over there.
Right.
And they
Back
called
over
it.
there.
They called it. He built his own. He built his casket.
Yes.
Himself.
Yes.
And when he passed away, they put him up in the house, in there.
Yes.
When he decayed, they took him down and buried him in Lots Creek Cemetery.
Lots Creek Cemetery. I heard that.
And people used to come dig and trying to find money.
And they said that he had buried some money or something, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what they did for the money.
Maybe some of these holes over the cemetery might be folk digging out. Before we move, thank y'all because I didn't recognize that. Now, this grave here, I want to give honor to this. This grave is Reverend Lucille J. Bradley. Had lived in New Jersey for a while. Her husband, Reverend John D. Bradley, is actually related to me through the Munlin side of the family. Yes, indeed. So when you start looking at this, I had a cousin, Della Hodges. She said it's just like a barrel of fish hooks. On this side, it gets all tangled up. And so you are right when you start looking at relationships. And I want to give homage to Stephan Bradley and his dad, Reverend John Bradley, who've done extensive amount of research on the Williams family, both the slave family and the African-American side of the family. And so thank you, Reverend John Bradley, and thank you, Stephan. And there is one of their relatives there next to them, Kevin Bradley, who I believe is a brother of the Bradleys. And if you can look over there, you see some of the older unmarked graves that
Lucille Bradley.
yes.
Lucille Bradley.
Yes.
Lucille Bradley. Other side from Jones.
Okay. So Lucille Bradley
Was Jones.
was a Jones, and the Jones are related to the Sykes. Barney Sykes married Barney Jones, married a Sykes, I think. And then that comes back and connected to
Freddie Jones
Freddie Jones.
was their father.
So
and that was
this is
my
just a cemetery of relatives,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's what
that
it
was
is.
my
A
great
cemetery of relatives.
my great grandmother's Uncle Freddie was my great grandmother's brother on my grandfather's side.
So Uncle Freddie
hmm
Sykes
Well, he was
Jones,
And he
who married a Sykes,
married Sykes.
was your great grandmother's brother
On my granddaddy's side.
on your granddaddy's
Her
side.
name was Jenny Jones Cooper.
Jenny Jones Cooper. And I did see some Coopers buried out here. Yes. So thank you. You provide so much enlightenment. Do you know anything about those folk buried over there? Anybody?
Some of them are birds.
The birds. How are the birds connected?
I don't.
Do you know about the birds?
Oh,
I could just tell you what I know.
yes, I know them.
But they're not connected to the Williams anything. For you
No,
know.
they're not.
Okay.
But
All right.
the bridge way over there, way over there, that was for my family.
Okay.
Who's that?
That might be why we call. Okay. So,
In Meta.
so she be
Linda Medford.
Mincy?
Okay.
Okay, but you do have relatives buried over there.
Yeah, those are the birds over there.
Right here. Let me take a look and call out some of these names. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Oh, Linda,
All right,
Linda
let's look at
Sykes.
some of these names here.
Linda Sykes.
How are you?
Okay, now this is June Williams. June Williams was one of the children. Hello, y'all, come on and help me out here. June Williams is one of the children of Garth Williams, was he not? They over there having a little conference.
Uncle June Williams.
Isn't he one of Garth's children?
Yes,
Yes, and he married Laura Williams. What was Laura before she was a Williams, you know?
I don't know her last name, but I know the offspring of course, they live in.
Okay, now this is one of the individuals born during the era of slavery in 1851. These were mulatto people. He was the son of the slave owner. The slave owner had a black family and a white family. And many of the descendants in this cemetery came from Bob Garth Williams.
Yes.
And June is one of his children.
Yes.
And he married Laura. And I'm trying to think, she was born during slavery also in 1856.
Yes, she was.
Now, what other family members you have out here? Were you talking about June, or were you talking about
Saxton, right over there.
Saxton? Oh, the Holland? Okay, there's a Virgin Doc Bird. This is one of the ones who lived to be, I believe, he was in the U.S. Army, World War I. And then here are the Shugs, the Birds,
And Uncle Don, where's Uncle Don?
Beulah Hutchins,
Doc Bird is right there.
Candace Lovett. Now these birds over here, you knew them? Shannon Lee.
There's Uncle Don, right.
Okay, anybody else out here we want to talk about on this side? Anybody? Okay, I'm depending on y'all to help me out. I got all these family members here. Don't y'all be quiet on me. Anybody over here you got in your families? Yes, no? All right, then let's go back in this direction then. You have anybody else you want to talk about over here, cuz?
No, just the Saxons right over there.
Where's the Saxon?
Yeah, they over there.
Wait, over here?
Yes,
Is this the older part of the cemetery?
Yes,
This is Jeff James.
that's them right there, James.
Jeff James, Lucille James. How are they related to you?
Florida, my daddy's first cousin, Jeff.
These are your daddy's first cousins.
Jeff, and then Lucille was his
How
wife.
you doing?
And
Good. And then there's Willie James, Connie Henry. These are some of the oldest. These are all your dad's first cousins.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you got some of the Alstons. Are you related to the Alstons?
No.
Okay. All righty. So thank y'all. And this is the Millbrooks, Alston Smith, Ruby Alston, Lee Alston, Donnell Smith. Okay, so all of this is the Smith family here, and we do pay respect to you. Now what we want to do is go on the other side of the cemetery and talk about some of those. And I think a lot of the Deloach family is on that side. And we have the Smith over there and the Kellys, some of the Hodges, Browns, all on that side. Now, do you know who these graves are that are unmarked? Are they related to June Williams?
Yes, those are for June's family.
These are all June unmarked graves.
Yeah, yes, the graves are unmarked.
I hope over time that those who know these graves will put markers there in time, because usually family members would put them together. June Williams, son of Garth Williams. Bob Garth Williams.
Together, we just don't know who they are.
Now here's the Bishop Clemens, one of our soldiers. And Mary May Parrish, Barney Jones. These are your mother's side. These are related to Devorah Jones, right?
Yes,
Devorah Jones,
Freddie Jones was her.
Devorah Sykes Jones. Yeah, she was a Sykes before she married. Okay.
Freddie Jones was her father.
Okay, you see Fred, oh, there's Freddie Jones there. There's Devorah right there. Okay. And Devorah is related to the Bradleys too.
Yeah.
Devorah is Lucille Reverend Bradley.
The Reverend Bradley down there, but this
That's Lucille's mother.
Lucille's mother, Devorah
And
Sykes.
that's Lucille's daddy right there. And those are,
There's some Edwards here.
that's Lucille's sister.
That's Lucille's sister. Now here's some Jones here. Here's Thomas Mercer, the soldier, World War I. And then this is Lula Watkins there in the corner. Okay, and we do all remember you for all of the great work that you do. Anybody know who this grave is?
No, I don't know.
This is one of the older graves, I can tell because of the brick around it like that. You see a lot like that. Okay, let's move back in this direction here. Some of the Mainers. I can't read these things. There's some Brunsons.
Yes.
There's a lot of Brunsons out there. Anybody know anything about the Brunsons?
They are, the Brunsons are their mother was Willie Bell. Yeah, Willie Bell.
What was her maiden name, Willie Bell?
Sumlin.
Also, the Sumlins are connected to the Brunsons. They married. There's a Cooter Brunson. Who is that?
That's Willie Bell's husband.
Willie Bell has. Okay. Willie Bell. There's a Cooter. My brother's nickname was Cooter. Every time I bring a smile to my name. Oh, Cooter was a Cooter. Cooter Brunson.
Yeah.
And Willie Bell. Now, what was Willie Bell before she married Cooter?
A Sumlin.
She was a Summerlin. Okay, good. Okay, Lizzie Summerlin.
Related to them.
Let me see. Where is that?
Samuel, I think his name was. There it is, right there.
This is the Summerlin here.
That's
So this is Willie Bell's parents?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Lizzie.
Lizzie Summerlin.
Yeah, those was my grandfather. Lizzie was my grandfather's sister.
Sister, and then your grandfather's last name was what?
Hendricks.
Hendricks. So this was, let's see how this connection come about. Well, I appreciate y'all sharing that with me. Now, who do we have over here? There's some soldiers, Jenkins. Anybody know anything about the soldier Jenkins? Katie Martin. There's a lot of babies out here.
It is. It's a lot.
The Flemings. There's a recent
Those
grave
are
here.
cousins. That's
Somebody
Salamese.
buried
That's
recently.
Salamese. See, Lula Mae Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Lula Mae Brown. Is she connected to the Browns over there? What?
Yes.
Those Browns over in the corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's her
And that's
husband.
Clarence Brown.
That's her
Lula Mae and Clarence Brown,
Lula Mae.
recently buried in 2023.
Lula Mae's mama was sister to Lizzie, Lizzie Williams.
Okay, so Lula Mae's mother was sister to Lizzie
To
Williams.
Grandmama Lizzie, yes.
Okay, how were the Andersons connected in here? I see quite a few of them out here. Anybody know? Lula Anderson, John Anderson.
Those are
Some of
Lula
them
Mae's.
married from people,
They are from the slavery man too.
Okay, all of these came through Barth Williams.
Yes.
They like the Grands and
Yes.
all that.
The
Anderson.
Where they come from.
Okay, they all descended on that.
All the Andersons.
Okay. Anybody down here? Anybody got any relatives down here? Okay, y'all gonna have to help me out. Do y'all have relatives here?
No, I don't have any relatives.
Okay.
Okay,
Brown
is mine coming up
baby
too?
grade men you talking about.
Well,
This Miss Doris.
I want to get it on the document. If you got
Okay,
any
that
information.
we can't to the Miss Clapp. I'm with
No,
Clapp,
ain't
Brian.
Okay, there's the Austins. That's a recent burial there. Who's that?
This one?
That is.
She was a Mincy.
That's a
She was a Mincy.
Mincy. What's the last name?
Mitzi had
She was a part of.
Hurdy. Mitzi Hurdy.
Recently burial here. Donald Taylor.
That's my aunt. That was my aunt's oldest son.
Oh, Donald Taylor was your aunt.
Oldest son.
Give the aunt's name.
Laura
Laura
Taylor Hendricks.
Kelly
Taylor.
Taylor Hendricks. Okay. All right. I think y'all
No, me.
information on the film.
Oh, okay.
They doing it so when you do like that, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Now, what are you giving us information
Okay, now
on?
this is Tasha Brown, baby's grave here.
Okay, now how is Tasha Brown related?
Okay, to Mr. Clarence Brown.
Okay.
And Miss Lula Mae, that's their daughter.
That's
So
the
this is the
granddaughter.
Grandbaby, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody know anything about the Lawtons?
Was that the
Sally Lowe.
Yeah.
Sally Mae Lawton. Who is that?
Anderson's daughter.
Whose daughter?
Mosley Anderson.
This is the Anderson's daughter. Those Andersons connected back to the Williams.
Lula Mae Anderson's, or Sally Anderson. Sally Mae's grandmother was Grandma Lizzie's sister.
Okay, and then there's Rhodey Williams Anderson.
Yeah.
That's her aunt.
That's her aunt. What about Maisie Gibson Anderson
I'll let him tell you.
and John Anderson Jr.?
Those were the same ones that was brothers and sisters in to these other ones here.
All righty. Now I want to talk to Loretha Butler Williams. Williams Butler. Anybody know about her?
The same.
You
She
heard
was
of Red?
one of the
You heard of Red that
Loretha
ran the
Williams,
barber shop?
is the-
Pardon?
You heard of Red that ran the barber shop in Statesboro?
In Statesboro?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
His wife was come from that family.
Come from this family. Okay. Anybody know anything about those folk down there?
Those, the ones down there are the Loaches.
Yeah. Now, these are Logan Williams. Almost everyone out here is somehow connected to a Williams.
They are. That's right. That's where they come
This
from.
is a big family. This is Garth Williams, the slave owner's lineage with African American families. Okay, we got Marie Johnson, Lottie Johnson. Oh, Miss Lottie Johnson.
Lottie Johnson, my daddy's sister.
That's your daddy's sister.
Yes.
Mr. Ellis, Mr. Claude Ellis, that's his sister.
And that's her husband, Jan.
Dan Johnson.
That's her
They
husband.
came from Pulaski.
And my mother's mother and my grandmother,
Your mother's mother, your mother was
Wilma Brown.
Wilma Brown.
Yeah, Johnson.
Okay, cuz, how you doing?
I'm
Good
good.
to see you. Related to the Hodges and all, we'll talk about them later.
Yes.
Okay, so, now say that again. Dan Johnson.
Was her grandfather.
Was my grandfather.
Okay.
And Lottie Johnson, his wife, was my grandmother, which is my mother, Wilma Johnson Hodges'
Yes.
mother.
Mother. Yes. And I was lucky enough to come to your home and I guess your mother's home and visit Miss Wilma, cousin, who had married into the Hodges family at one time. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, who is Lizzie McCall?
Her sister, Lottie's daughter.
This is Lottie's daughter. Okay, now who is this here? L-O-V, Lovett. Anybody know anything about the Lovett?
Just know them, I don't know their background.
Okay, you don't know their background. Now let's go over and look at the Deloaches. There's a bunch of Deloaches out here. There's a lot. In fact, the Deloaches is probably, after the Williams, one of the largest families in the cemetery. All right, Larry Rawls.
That's Alberta
brother-in-law.
Rawls.
That's Alberta's who?
A husband. That's a brother-in-law to the Deloaches.
Oh, this is a brother-in-law to the Deloaches. Okay, Corrine Deloach, I know her. She went to the Willow Hill School. Mary Carolyn Deloach, her sister. All them Deloaches around town. Now, there's James and Irene Deloach. That's their mom and dad, isn't it? Yeah, they were very fruitful and multiplied and helped to replenish register area. I heard that. And then you have James, who was in the military. It was a Deloach family. It was a very important family that's all in here. Now, there's Cheryl Deloach Powell. Who is she?
That's the sister to.
That's a sister to Corrine. Now, here's somebody just buried.
That's my grandma's spirit.
Okay, you come and tell us about your grandmother. They just put her here. Miss Tanner?
Yes, Pearl Tanner. It's Willie Pearl McCollum Tanner.
Okay. Now, and these are connected to Frank Tanner up at Portal that went to Banks Creek Church. Yes.
I'm the baby Tanner, so I'm the baby Tanner.
Yes, she's related to Frank Tanner. The husband was.
Yes, and that's Clement. Clement Tanner is the husband.
Yes.
Clement Tanner is senior.
Okay.
And then she's Willie Pearl Tanner. Then she'll be Willie Pearl.
And she was just buried when? The flowers are fresh still almost.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. How old was she?
She was 88.
88 years old. God rest your soul. Lived 88 years and they just buried her this past week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are members there? Is anybody else related to Mrs. Tanner out here? Okay, now, there's one person under the Deloaches I want to remember, and that's called Louis Deloach. And I want to remember Louis Deloach. He was born in 1950, same year I was born, and we were classmates at Louis Deloach. He was twin to Frank Deloach.
Oh, yeah.
And we were classmates at the Willow Hill School.
You all were?
Yes, we were in the same class together. I remember when the Deloaches came into the area and we saw these two boys look somewhat alike. So I remember the family, and they.
Oh, I was gonna say, now the Morels and the Deloaches is from my Tanner, my granddad's side.
Okay, the Morels and the Deloaches are your grandfather,
Lynn Tanner,
Lynn Tanner.
which would be over there. It was Tanner, but he wanted to be different, and he put the E instead of the A.
Okay, so the Tanners and the Tanners are the
It's
same
the
people.
same people.
And they married, Frank Tanner married Maggie,
Yes.
my aunt. She was on the lead from the Lee family.
Yeah,
Well,
he
I call her
yeah.
aunt. That's Mr. Rayford Deloach. So
But
all of these
that's
are
his first. That's
Deloaches,
that's the first
Paul Deloach.
Yep.
How nice when they include all the children,
Children, yeah.
and that really helps us to keep the lineage alive. Now here's the Tanners you were talking about.
Okay, the McCollums is my grandma. Is my grandmother. It's Willie Pearl McCollum.
Really, Pearl McCullough married a Tanner.
Yes, sir.
All right, and so Harvey and Willie Pearl, are they sisters and brothers?
Harvey, no, Lynn Tanner is Clement Tanner's daddy.
I see. I got it.
Then-
Now these are the McCulloughs, so these are your
Okay.
people here.
These are few. So this is Pearl Tanner, the one that she just passed. This is her sister,
Okay.
Dorothy McCollum.
Okay.
And
There's Alec McCullum. How are they connected?
okay, so Alex and Gertrude, I want to think, were they? I know they were on grandma's side. But
Okay.
was it McKay? Because McKay was McKay, the one that Uncle BC and Nathan Gray, McKay, he was up here somewhere.
But anyway, the McCullums and the Tanners are connected. How are they connected to the Moody's? Are they?
Oh, technically.
You don't know for sure. Okay. It's okay. But normally families bury next to relatives.
We
And
do.
usually,
We try
if
to-
you see someone next to somebody in a church cemetery
Yeah.
or in a family cemetery, there is a strong connection. So
It-
I am suspecting, perhaps, I know I see Ruby Clyde McCollum,
So that
all of
prob-
these,
so more than likely,
Alex
that's-
McCollum.
So more than like, yeah, Alex McCollum is gonna be some kin to my grandmother.
Yes, and there's an Ennis McCollum too.
It is McCollum.
Okay,
But now I know.
it's Alex's son.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
All this here is
Now,
his family.
anybody knows how these Moody's and Lees are connected? You got Wilbur Lee, Leela Lewis Shorty. Anybody know anything about Mary Lee Hendricks and all these Lees over here?
Arch Lee was brother to
Henry Lee and Arch Lee are brothers. Okay. Now, are there a lot of Lees out here? Were they members of the church?
yes.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your help, historians. Y'all just like your daddy. He was history heavy. Okay, so Arch Lee, and you got Jenny
That
Lee.
was his wife.
Yes, you don't know what her maiden name was, do you? She was a Moody. Ah, so that makes sense. You got these Moody's here.
Gertrude McCollum and Jenny was sisters.
Oh, Jenny and Gertrude were sisters.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. And then you got Mary Lee Hendricks. I wonder if it's related to the Hendricks over there.
That's the daughter of Archie.
They related, yeah.
That's the daughter. And then you got John Charles Lee. So they all related.
That's her son.
That's the son. Okay.
Daddy's sister-in-law.
Okay. Does anybody know who's buried in this above ground grave? Who is her name?
I've been trying to figure it out. She.
It's a lady though.
Buried back there when we were born out there in New Hope. God, in New Hope, man. As far as I can remember, she's from Savannah.
No, she ain't. She from there. That's Daddy's aunt.
That's your daddy's aunt.
That's who that is.
You don't remember her name? But anyway, this is your daddy's. Hey, y'all come a little closer to this right here. Okay, this is your daddy's aunt.
Yes.
This is Claude Ellis'
Oh,
aunt,
Ellis's aunt. Yes,
So
sir.
she was a-
Mamie. Her name is Mamie.
Mamie.
Yeah, her name is Mamie.
Okay, and then you, what was her last name?
Huh? Yeah, she lived right there by St. Louis. Where Doll stayed in there. You know, by where Uncle John stayed. Uncle John William,
Okay,
what was her name?
but Mamie was her name?
Yeah, Mamie.
You don't remember her last name
No, I
though?
don't remember her last
You don't know
name.
maiden name or anything?
Sarah Coleman and Mamie Davis. She was married to, you know, the Davises, Terry Davis and them in Matter.
Okay, so she was a Davis?
Summerlin's people.
Huh?
Miss Mamie, Cooley, lady related to Cooley Summerlin, not that Mamie.
So this is Mamie,
Yeah, huh?
and she was a Davis?
Yes, she was.
And she was your daddy's
My
aunt.
daddy's aunt. Her and Sarah were sisters.
Sarah
Coleman.
Coleman were sisters.
yes.
So those are married names. You don't know what they maiden names was. I looked that up then.
Because they come up, well, I can tell you one thing, they come from the same time.
They came from Barb Garth family also.
That's where they come from. They ain't in it like that.
So Barb Garth populated this cemetery.
Now the Johnson over there where Dan Johnson and Lottie and all them,
Yes.
them Bob Gartons. They come
From
from
way
the
back.
They come from them Grandma Lizzie's daughter. Lottie was
Yes.
Grandma Lizzie's daughter, which my daddy's sister.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
There you go.
Well, I want to call attention to these two, Will Smith, because his Will Smith and Clara Kelly Smith, I know that their children were members of St. Mary's, Clarice Davis and all those who was a Smith, I believe Winton Smith, related to Margie Smith and others, and who went to the Willow Hill School. Okay, so I want to bring Mr. Ellis. Do you know anything about Clara Kelly Smith? I know that they are related to some of the folk over in Bull around St. Mary's Church, like Clarice Davis and Will Smith, and all of those who are married into the Lee family, and Margie Smith, and that whole group were, I think these are their grandparents. And then there's a Henry Kelly who was a soldier, but I'm assuming there's some connection here. But I'm glad you told me who's the only person buried above ground here.
Yes, that's St. Mamie.
Okay. Do you know anything? And we see a lot of soldiers out here. Who is Dorothy Brown and Washington and the Menzies? Do you know anything about those Menzies?
James Washington was Juanita Washington. They own this little store down the street.
Juanita Washington, which one is her?
That's my grandmother.
Right here.
That's my
Right
dad's.
Okay,
That's Juanita
right
Washington.
here, Juanita
She was a
Washington.
She
That's
was
my
a
dad's.
Manson.
That's on
Okay,
my
y'all
dad's
stay
side.
with us because y'all help us out.
That's okay. So Juanita Washington is my dad, Jerry L. Washington. That's his mother.
And she owned the store here in Register?
Yeah, her and my my granddaddy James. And then Dorothy is my dad's sister. That's Dorothy Brown. That's the one that was married.
That's your dad's sister.
Yes, that's my dad's sister.
Okay.
And then we got
Her is May Evelyn Mincy Lockett. You know anything
I don't
about
know
her?
about him.
She was Atwood Mince's daughter.
This is
Oh,
Edward
Mr. Atwood.
Mincy's daughter.
Mr. Atwood.
Evelyn,
Okay.
Mr. Atwood,
Mr.
Atwood and Alma.
And Alma.
Okay.
Okay.
What about these Surratts?
Okay, so Dorothy Surratt is my grandmother. That's my dad's.
Dorothy is your grandmother?
Herman
that-
Hendricks,
That's
Herman
my,
Lee.
that's my dad's real mother.
Herman Lee
That's-
Jones.
Yes, but Juanita.
Okay. Herman Shoney's people. Okay, and we got a lot of militaries here. What about Charles Maynard?
That's
and
that's
Edward
my uncle.
Maynard.
That's okay. So, all right. So this is my grandma Dorothy Surratt. Then George Surratt was her Charles Maynard. That is Dorothy Surratt's brother.
Brother.
Okay.
So she was a Maynard then.
Miss Bessie Maynard.
Miss Betsy Maynard.
Bessie Maynard.
Okay,
Bessie
there's
Maynard,
Bessie
that's the
Maynard
daddy. That's the mama of them.
of all these. Okay, now who is that? Herman.
Herman Lee. Herman Lee Sr.
Beasley.
Pardon me?
Miss Bessie was a Beasley.
Miss Bessie was Bessie Lee Beasley before she was a Maynard. She married Herman Lee Maynard, huh?
So she married E.H. Maynard,
E.H. Maynard.
who is buried in St. Paul.
This her sister Juanita.
Buried where now?
I just told her.
Okay.
He's buried in St.
And
Now,
then
who is-
Herman Lee Sr.
Yeah.
is her
Herman Lee Sr. is the daddy of Herman Lee.
Herman Lee.
Shoney's.
Yeah.
Say what now?
Herman Lee that ran Shoney's. That's his daddy.
That's his daddy.
That's his daddy. Herman Lee that runs Shoney. This is the
That's
father.
his daddy.
Now let's see who we got down here. Harold Dean Parrish. Y'all know who that is? Harold Dean Parrish.
That's his son.
That's Miss
Juanita's
Juanita's son,
That's Juanita's nephew.
nephew.
No, that's Miss Bernita's son. Miss Alma raised him, but that's Miss Juanita.
Miss Bernita. What's Bernita's last name?
She was Alma's sister. What name did Miss Bernita go in? Miss Bernita went.
She was a Mensa.
She was a Beasley. Her
I love the debate between this historian.
Bernita Knight.
Bernita Knight. We'd like to see who finally takes a hand down.
Bernita Knight.
Her daddy was Mr.
Okay,
Mr.
now let's start here and go back over this way. Okay, who are these people here? We got Ethel May Jones. Ethel May Jones. Who is this? Barbara May Ross. Johnny Lee Allen. Jeannie Mae Allen. Do y'all know any of these folks?
This is Sugar Bear. Yeah, with
Maddie's Florida.
These are Maddie who?
Maddie Deloach.
These are the Deloach people.
This is Maddie
No,
Deloach's
she married
parents.
into
Janie
Parents.
Mae.
Okay.
Yeah.
These were Johnny Lee was a mercer.
Johnny was a mercer.
Allen. Johnny, yeah.
He was an Allen.
He was an Allen.
Johnny was out.
They moved up here from Fort Lauderdale.
They came from Florida. Okay.
And from here.
But he was from here, went to Florida, and came back.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
And that's his wife there.
Okay. Now, who is Mamie Seymour? Anybody know Mamie Seymour? What do you? How is she connected?
She brought me up in the church when she was into the Andersons.
She was related to the Andersons.
Yes,
All right. Does anybody know who these graves are? That's from way back, looks like.
Yes, I don't know.
All right. What about look like Kimmer Parish? Kimberly Parish.
All those Ellis. You remember the grave that had all the names on it?
Yes.
Mama's, that's her daughter.
This is related to the Ellises. Okay, good.
That's Helen.
Okay, now what about Buford Jackson
That's
and Jesse Jackson, huh?
Wilma Hodges, Reba Jackson, Dan and Lottie Johnson.
Yes.
That's the grandchild.
These are grandchildren of Dan and Lottie Johnson.
And that's a daughter right there. Reba Jackson is a daughter.
Reba Jackson is a daughter
Of Dan and Lottie Johnson.
of Dan and Lottie Johnson. Okay, now you know what Jackson she married?
Jesse.
She married Jesse Jackson. All right, you know anything about where them Jacksons come from? You know, Jackson is my last name. Sometimes I discover ancestors in the cemetery.
I thought somebody said Jesse used to live in Carolina somewhere.
He came from the Carolinas. Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think I heard that.
All right. Well, I want to call attention to this grave. Mr. Carson Sapp, Sr., private in the U.S. Army in Vietnam, born in 1950, the same year I was born. The reason I want to call his name out is that he was in that first group of African Americans like myself who integrated Statesboro High School. And we went there in 1965. The first year they had integration in Bullock County, the same year that Georgia Southern University was integrated. Now, Carson was raised by Miss Lan Ward and Mr. Odine Ward. He wasn't their biological child, but they raised him as a child.
That's right.
And so Miss Lan was a school teacher. She taught in Sylvania for a number of years, daughter of Andrew Stewart. And so that goes way back. Mr. Andrew was born in 1874. I just remember that from reading it. All right, so Carson.
Didn't they come from Carolina?
I don't know where Carson came from. I just know that.
Carson came from over in the Sylvania area.
Okay, Miss Land used to work in the Sylvania area.
Yeah.
I don't know where she got Carson, but I know she adopted
Carson
him.
is related to us on my grandmother's side.
He's related to.
Bessie Mae Brooks Cooper.
He was related to the Coopers. Oh.
No, not the Coopers, the Brooks.
The Brooks.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now, so we got some other graves here. Ezel Littles. Now, anybody know about Ezel Littles? Because I know that on my grandmother's side, they were related to the Littles, but a lot of them are buried over at Fish Trap.
Ezel is a grandson of Mordecai, great-grandson of Mordecai and Lizzie Williams, Carrie Bryant.
Carrie Bryant, the teacher?
No.
No, Carrie Bryant, okay.
And she had a daughter, Pauline, and there's Pauline, he's standing.
Okay, that's Pauline Littles. Now, where did she get the Littles name through?
She married Wiley.
Wiley Littles. Oh, Wiley Littles. So those are my relatives I've just discovered
Make
there.
a long story short, all of them is my daddy's nieces and nephews.
These are your daddy's nieces and nephews.
That's exactly right.
And they got connected to the Littles family through Wiley Littles, and who go way back, connected to the Nelson Littles.
Yes.
And Nelson Littles is the son of Jack Littles, born during the slave era. And so he was a brick mason, and Nelson Littles is my great-great-great-grandfather. Married Eliza Riggs. So it's amazing how when you walk these cemeteries, you pick up new information. Now, Willie Bryant and Themia Holland Somebody help me out. James Bryant.
James Bryant.
These all sisters and brothers?
These right here.
So Pauline, Willie, and Themiel are all brothers and sisters?
No, Themia's mama is his sister.
Okay, Themiel's mother
Was his sister.
Was
Themia's
his-
mother is Laura.
Okay, Laura, where's Laura?
Laura Holly,
Okay,
wherever she is.
okay, now this is James Bryant.
That's Laura's brother's son.
That's Clifford Bryant's son. Now who is Clifford Bryant?
Pauline's brother.
So
Gary
Pauline Littles and Clifford Bryant are brothers.
Brothers and sisters, yes. And that's Laura.
Okay, now Laura is one of the sisters. Now who is Robert?
Robert is her husband.
Robert and Laura husband, and who is that next to? That looks like a Bryant there. Look like Carrie.
Oh, that's Daddy's sister.
That's your daddy's
Yeah,
sister?
yes, they can.
So, oh, she married a Bryant. Your daddy, Claude Ellis, this is his sister.
That's his sister.
And then, so these are her people there.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Anything you want to tell us about
Laura
any?
is her daughter. Pauline is her daughter. We are Willie.
Laura married a Mosley.
That's a granddaughter.
That's a granddaughter.
Pauline's daughter.
Now, C. Bryant, who is C. Bryant?
I see.
I.C. Bryant, who is he?
He's Carrie's son.
Ain't Carrie's son.
Yes.
Okay, now this is Warren Cox. Anybody know who Warren Cox is?
Pauline's husband.
This is Pauline's husband.
Yes.
I thought Pauline was a Littles.
Pauline was a little, but she
Wiley died first.
After Wiley died,
After Wiley died,
she married a Cox. All right, now y'all gotta help keep this straight now, because you know I'm remembering what y'all telling me now. I'm remembering what y'all telling me now.
Wiley died first.
Oh, so he died first, Wiley. Okay, I got it.
First, and then she married.
I got it. You know, during the slavery years, they would have more than one husband.
Yes,
Ask Bob Garth about all that now.
Oh, and
Y'all know I don't want to start melting, do you?
Okay, let me tell you something.
Yes.
All of this from down there,
These are all Bob Garth
every
descendants.
one of them is my relatives.
All came from Bob Garth.
That's right.
Boy, if these cemeteries could talk, woo, the stories they would tell. And you know what? DNA is helping us to uncover some of this. All right, who is Reginald Antonio Plant?
This is
That's Lynette's son.
my sister's daughter's son.
Your sister's daughter's son. So this is connected to Johnson and the Hodges.
Yes.
Wilma Brown.
Oh, well, who is Ronnie?
Ronnie is one of my other sister's sons.
What is your name? What, the camera doesn't know your name. we recorded. I know I do, but
There you go. Okay,
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you. Of course I know. Okay, here's Mama. Huh? And she lived good.
That's
She
real.
lived to be 90 what?
94.
94. And if she had lived to October, she'd have been 95. Well, anything you want to tell us about Mama?
Yes. Wilma Brown was the daughter of Lottie Johnson and Dan Johnson, which was Lottie Johnson was his father's sister.
Lottie Johnson's father's sister,
Yes.
who married Dan Johnson.
Yes.
Yes.
She was an Ellis.
And she was an Ellis.
Yes, she married
Okay.
Dan Johnson.
Now, she married several times, didn't she? Twice. Who was her first husband?
James Hodges.
James
which
Hodges.
was Bubba Hodges' son.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because here's another connection
Yes.
to my family, because Bubba Hodges and my great-grandmother were brothers and sisters. Bubba Hodges was born in 1895, and my great-grandmother was born in 1870. And they were the children of Elder Washington Hodges, who was a primitive Baptist minister born during slavery in 1851 and died in 1954. And he married Eliza Riggs.
Yes.
She died in 1910. And so there is a connection between the Hodges, the Riggs, and then here we are connected as well through Bubba Hodges, your grandmother, who married Hattie Artis,
Yes.
who lived to be 101 or 2. Yep.
Yes,
She was 101 years old, and they moved from Bullock County to Brunswick, Georgia. And that's where they did it. And some years ago, the year was 1987, I was passing through Brunswick, and I had the honor of interviewing Hattie Artis and Bubba Hodges. Yes. Now, who is Shirley Carter?
Shirley Carter was the daughter of Wilbur Brown.
This is the Brown. And who is Jerome, the soldier?
He was the husband of Shirley Carter.
Okay. And then we got some down here, Donnie Paul Hodges.
He was the son of Wilma Brown.
Son of Wilma. And he's your brother. Yeah, I want to.
Shirley is my sister.
Yeah, I wanted to add that little. I know. Oh, who is Roy Lee Hodges?
My brother. Which
It's
is
your brother.
Wilma
All righty.
Brown's son.
And who is James Brown?
Jane Brown was her second husband. That's how she became Wilma Brown.
Okay. All righty. And then who is this? Anthony Hodges.
Anthony Hodges is my brother, which is Wilma Brown's son.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is anybody else want to mention anything or call their family members, because I want to take this opportunity to read the names of all of those formerly enslaved individuals that we remember. Now, we didn't talk about Kyla Lanier because somehow I didn't see his grave out here, but he's buried out here. He was born during slavery in 1845. Now, Kyla Lanier married a Tenna Williams, and she was the daughter of Bob Garth, the slave owner, and they married around 1867, just after slavery time. And so I wanted to give remembrance to him because a lot of the Laniers of Bullock County, Georgia are connected back to Kyla Lanier because he was enslaved to Frederick Lanier. And the plantation of Frederick Lanier and Bob Garth Williams was connected to each other. And so that was how a lot of times the formerly enslaved would get a chance to meet and establish families. Also, you had Tenna Elizabeth Williams Lanier, 1834 to 1931. Alice DeLoach Morrell, we met the DeLoach families over there, 1865. She died in 38. There was a Sam Morrell out here, 1861, 1920. There is Augusta Gus Reed, 1856, died in 1921. June Williams, we stopped over at his grave. He was the son of Bob Garth. And then there is Laura Williams, 1856, 1894. They're your husband and wife. Then there's a Sam Mincy, and I suspect that Sam Mincy is connected back to Peter Mincy from way back, but I don't know for sure. And then there is a Samuel Mincy, supposedly buried here. I found information in the archives, and they said that he was born in 1785. I could not find any other information on him. There was Eliza Brown, 1861, 1933, and Clarence Robinson, 1853, 1933. There were 3 people that were buried here who were centenarians, meaning that they lived longer than 100 years. Virgil Doc Bird, 1895, 1998. Lorna Mae Williams Baker Smith Minifield. Whoa, do y'all see those names? She laid 3 to rest.
That's right.
She laid three men to rest. You know she was a bad lady. She lived to be 105 years old. And I had the honor of interviewing Miss Minifield. I went to Statesboro. She was in bed, and she was a very, very fair-skinned person. So you could tell she had direct lineage to Bob Garth.
Absolutely.
And then Claude Ellis, 1905, 2006, your dad. And as I said, he was strong in memory when he left. I heard one day he was just walking and fell.
Oh, yeah, I'm going from the bathroom in the
And just fell dead, just like that.
My sister was talking with him.
Well, something similar.
And
You were talking to him.
He died right here.
On your
Right here on
arm.
my arms.
Just talking to him. Just went out like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
just went to the bathroom and telling me a whole lot of stuff, and I'm listening after midnight. As usual, I sometimes was found up there till 3 o'clock in the morning listening to him. And I just go out the back door and go home. But this time, he wasn't finished, so he had to go to the bathroom. Bathroom was right around the corner from his bedroom. And so we went to the bathroom, and instead of him closing the door, he keeps talking to me. So I got to listen, so I stepped to the door to hear what he's saying. And when he finished, he came out and he said, step back and let me get in the room. And I stepped back. He walked to the bed, sat down, and when he sat down, his head went over.
Just like
that. And I ran to him and caught him, and it was too late.
Now, isn't that an amazing story? You talking, you just walked.
Beautiful.
You were telling all the history.
Beautiful.
And then you fell asleep. In the arms of Jesus, we used to call that. Falling asleep in the arms of Jesus.
That's what I told somebody.
Hallelujah. I want to thank you so much for these stories, because these are the kinds of stories that generations to come will be able to hear what we did here today, because we have this all documented. It's going to be online, and for generations to come, your children, your grandchildren, and your greats can see the great work. I want to give homage to the minister of the gospel bearer here, Reverend Lucille Jones Bradley, 1936-2015. Reverend Mary Bell Bradley, 1917-1984. Minister Ray R. Bradley. Them Bradleys believe in the gospel, didn't they? All of them in the family. 1934 to 2001. And Reverend Cap Smith, 1875 to 1921. Now, I did some research and found a lot of obituaries, probably 20 or more, of individuals buried here, but there are no stones or anything.
Right.
And they represent the indentations in this ground. And so I beg all of you, when you lay your folk to rest, put a marker there so that generations will know. Now, was Miss Loretta Williams Butler a school teacher? I thought she was.
School teacher better.
I believe she was a teacher. Now, what about Dr. Oliver Jones? He was buried out there recently, 47. He was a doctor, so I don't know what type of doctor he was, but I did put his name there. And then the last thing I want to remember are our soldiers. These are the individuals who served during World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, and many other wars that we've been involved in. We talked about Carson Sapp, was in Vietnam. Jerome C. Carter, Vietnam. George Surratt, the U.S. Army, and his dates were 1930 to 2017. Charles Maynard, Army, 1953 to 2014 are his dates. James Edward Maynard, U.S. Navy, 1955 to 2004. And I'm going to jump back to Carson Sapp, 1950 to 2019 are his dates. Jerome Carter, 1946 to 2021. Henry Kelly, we have him 1940, so I'm assuming that was a death date because I did not find a birth date. Louis DeLoach, 1950 to 2012. James DeLoach, U.S. Army. Louis was in the U.S. Navy. James DeLoach, World War II, 1925 to 2006. Harold DeLoach, U.S. Army, in Korea, 1930 to 2019.
Harold and Louis were brothers.
Harold and Louis were brothers. Okay, thank you for that. Lester Mincy, World War II, 1919 to 1983. Benjamin Williams, U.S. Army, 1920 to 1985. And I think he was related to Della Coward,
Right.
who was in the Williams. And she was connected to that Coward family from Pulaski and all over there. And there's a lot of history on that, which we will talk at other times. Then we have Julian Bernard James, U.S. Army career, 1934 to 1958. Benjamin J. Jenkins, U.S. Army, World War II, 1923 to 1989. Douglas Wooten, U.S. Air Force, 1949 to 1980. So you see individuals here serving all the various branches, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, and the Marines. You have Roosevelt Brunson, Korea, Vietnam, 1935 to 1968. General Williams, and we talked about him. World War I, 1897, 1955. His son, General Williams Jr., U.S. Army, 1936 to 1991, and those are the dates of their birth and death.
Right.
R.J. Williams, U.S. Air Force, 1933 to 1991. Barney Jones, and we talked about Barney Jones connected to other family members through the Williams and the Sykes. World War I, 1894 to 1966. Thomas E. Mercer, World War I, 1895 to 1956. Bishop Clemens, World War I and World War II. He was born in 1895 and died in 1950. Leland Byrd, United States Air Force, 1955 to 1994. Leland Byrd, these are all families, 1931 to 1960, father son. And Virgil Doc Byrd, World War I, 1895 to 1998. So we have 3 generations of Byrds who served in the military. And we want to thank all of you who came out because you've added so much. Did anyone have anything else they want to say about anything? This is an opportunity if you want to say anything to add to what we might have missed.
Well, as I think I mentioned that when Carl Brown was Prospect School.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Herman Lee was the bus driver.
Okay.
Old Street got to the left with a war camp, which was at that time of one week school. And probably in 1906 or 61 that's when the highway came through.
It was a dirt road before then.
The main dirt road right behind you there.
Right there.
It came right around to the church. That's the new church.
The older church is behind the new church. Okay, did everybody hear that? So there was originally a dirt road and it went this way.
Right.
Okay. And you told us about the New Hope School, which is one of the first schools like Willow Hill for African Americans in Bullock County since about 1874. Miss Corey Everett Brown, Corey was the teacher over there and was a principal. Miss Bates was over there too, wasn't she?
Florine Bates. Her husband was pastor here too.
And her husband, Bates, was pastor. And I heard that Lee Hunter had probably one of the longest tenure here as a pastor of New Hope. So that's good to know about that part of the building you see is part of those equalization schools that they built in Bullock County 54-55 to delay integration. And so we didn't have integration in Bullock County until 1965 under the freedom of choice. And then in 1971, there was court order integration of the schools. And after that, many of the schools like New Hope closed.
Yes.
And students were sent elsewhere. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And Mr. Crawford Tarver taught over there too, didn't you?
Right, 5th grade.
5th grade.
He started me being a history book.
Mr. Crawford Tarver.
Right, and everything, yeah.
With his proper self. Didn't he speak properly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and Mr. Tarver, I knew him well, tall,
right,
stately, and spoke with great precision.
There you go, that's it.
And if you didn't, he would get you precisely too. I appreciate that additional information. You have anything to add, sir? You have anything to add? Nothing? No, nothing. Who you related to out here?
Out here, the Holloways, the Birds, and Mitzi's family.
Well, the Holloways, that's beautiful because they go way back. Now, you related to the Riley Holloway line?
Yes, Harvey Holloway.
Harvey Holloway through Riley Holloway, born in 1876. I remember his date. Riley Holloway died in 1942. And after he married Carrie Hendricks,
yes.
And Carrie Hendricks is connected to these Hendricks that we were talking about, but she died in 29. And after her death, he married a lady named Ola Bess Hall.
Yes.
We call her Cutting Mac where I came. All right. She was quite a stately woman. She was the daughter of one of the board members from the Willow Hill School. And her mother was Lizzie Parrish. And she married Randall Hall. And Randall Hall was on the board of trustees at the Willow Hill School. Anything else to say, Mr. Ellis?
Well, the school right there, the school belongs to the church here.
The school over there?
Yes, the owner of the school. Our church is the owner of the school.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Do y'all have any plans for it?
Well, we had some, but they hadn't started yet.
All right. Cuz, anything else you want to add?
No.
Anything on the Hodges, the Browns, anything? Any connection?
Well, I do like to say, to let everybody know that my grandfather on the Hodges side, and I didn't know that until you told me, was your uncle.
Yes.
And you know the history of the artists.
Yes.
And the Bubba
Hodges way back.
way back that I don't know.
Yes, and I want you to come by the museum at Willow Hill because Aunt Hattie Artis Hodges and Uncle Bubba Hodges, that's what we always called him, their photograph is hanging in the museum. And not only that, Bubba Hodges' dad, who was a former slave, Elder Washington Hodges, Primitive Baptist minister, his photograph is there, as well as his wife, Eliza Riggs Hodges, both of them born during slavery, and I've been very fortunate to get their information. And this is the last thing I probably want to mention is that Washington Hodges had 3 brothers, Meshach, Nedrach, and Abednego. When Sherman came from Atlanta on his way to Savannah, burning everything in the way, one place they camped at was at the Neville's Creek Primitive Baptist Church. 3 of Elder Washington Hodges' brothers, the name I just called, left with Sherman's army, and they marched into Savannah and eventually ended up in Coahoma County, Mississippi. When Washington Hodges' mama died, almost 100 years old in 1910, he was the executive of the state. He carried their inheritance over to Mississippi and delivered to them. And I found those records in the Bullock County Courthouse. And so these are the kinds of stories that slavery bring to us. And the last point, talking about Sherman as he went through Effingham County and at Ebenezer Creek. He crossed the bridge there. His soldiers, along with our relatives, helped build that platoon bridge which crossed the river. Now, when the Confederates followed them, they took up the bridge. And when they took up the bridge, all of the women and children, because a lot of enslaved individuals were self-liberating themselves and following Sherman's army. They took up the bridge, and these poor women and children just ran into the water, running from the Confederate. They drowned. Abraham Lincoln was president, and it's called the tragedy at Ebenezer Creek. Abraham Lincoln was president. He heard about this tragedy down in Effingham County, Georgia. So he sent his secretary, Stanton, down to Savannah, Georgia. They met at the Second Baptist Church, Second or First, and that is where they came up with the solution, 40 acres and a mule. That's where that whole story comes from, to address the issue of the tragedy that happened at Ebenezer Creek. Everybody knows that Lincoln was assassinated in 1865. Johnson became president after Lincoln's assassination. He was a slave owner. He rescinded all of those orders. So all the land from around Charleston, South Carolina, along the river, past Savannah, down to the St. John River in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, all of that land was supposed to be divided in terms of 40 acres and a mule. Have you not heard your people say, where's my 40 acres and a mule? All right. And have I not heard that? So I want to thank all of y'all for coming out. Next month, yes, you had something to say?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Dan Otis married, let me see how to, anyway, Grandma Hattie Do you have any information at the Willow Hill School on the Odyssey?
Yes, I can get you some information on the artists as
I
well.
wanna,
So I
I
want you
wanna
to come
come
out.
look.
I want you to come out and take a look at what we have. We've been working with Georgia Southern University. They are digitizing a lot of our records. We have a lot of oral recordings. We have over 500 oral recordings that I've made of folk, and I've done it for the last 50 years. And so we put in all that together, saving the history of our people who came through the enslaved era but were contributors to this place called America. After all, it was slave labor that built the Capitol at Washington, D.C. And so I want to encourage all of you, wherever you are, if you have an obituary, save it. It may be the only place, if you're not famous, that your history is written down. And many times we toss it away. We at the Willie Harrison Renaissance Center, we are collecting them. Please, if you have them, save them for us. If you want to keep them, let us copy them. And please, I encourage all of you to record your family history. Record it. And on every third Saturday, we do a different cemetery. We will be at New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church next month, third Saturday, 10 o'clock. Come out and join us. Last month, we did the Harmony Missionary Baptist Church. So we will continue until all these cemeteries are finished. If these cemeteries could talk, stories they would tell. We thank all of you for coming out today.